Okay. Hello. Welcome to everyone who is finding themselves to be here, wherever that is. Today, we are going to hopefully get into the weeds a little bit. And our way of doing that is that we're going to look into some Zen teachings and some Zen stories by Zen masters. And so some Zen teachings and then some stories of the Zen masters. And the Zen teachings you can listen to with your wisdom eye, and the Zen story you can listen to with your anime eye. Okay, but just like anime that is coming from a real, true story of the past. Okay, something like that. Otherwise, it might be too confusing. So I'm glad that you are all here. If we want to really enjoy getting into the weeds, and we want to really enjoy this suffering, confused, difficult existence, we need to open up to it. Okay, we need to show up to it and be willing to feel and look and enjoy this situation that we find ourselves in, especially this body that we find ourselves in. So to do that, we're going to start with some meditation. And so starting with meditation is to firstly abandon everything outside, okay? Abandon our place in the world and abandon all of the sense media that we are so often contacting and getting involved with. Okay, so ideally we find a place that's somewhat quiet. We find a position for our body that is somewhat still. We don't drink or eat anything, so the taste is not so aroused. There shouldn't be too much smell, okay? And so in this way, we start to abandon and let go of all of these outside contact points, and we reel the mind in, okay? We bring the mind inside. We turn the mind around. Oops, I lost video here. So give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Perfect. All right, so we find our meditation position. Okay, find that position to put the body down. Okay, and then putting the body down to be still right here, right now. We can close our eyes. Take a few deep breaths. And as we take those deep breaths, as we start to give our full attention onto breathing, start to bring the mind inside. Start to bring the mind home to the body and become interested in this body right now. And the moment that we start meditating, we're giving up a lot. Okay, if we close our eyes, we're giving up seeing or the things that we see. If we're in a quiet place, we're giving up our movement towards or our likes or dislikes about certain sounds. giving up a lot and giving in to this interest and this curiosity about the body right now, the heart right now, the breath right now. Breathing and exploring the body with our awareness. Breathing and looking, breathing and being with this inside experience. Allow that someone, that something to melt. Just breathing and being with the body and our lived present moment experience. The story, the good, the bad, the someone, the something, just melting away. Breathing and being aware of the body right now. It's important that we do generate and touch this kind of enjoyment or pleasure in our meditation. And I find that a really strong access point for that, for me, is this quality of opening, of refreshing, of beginning anew at this moment. That right now in practicing meditation, there is no other place, there is no other time, there is no other person, there's no other responsibility. It's just to be here as fully and wholeheartedly as I can. And there's a quality of freedom and openness in that that is very enjoyable, refreshing. And as we feel that enjoyment, allowing it to invite us more and more deeply into being in the body, being aware, being interested, being with and breathing, being aware. this enjoyable quality of each and every moment of our meditation being this renewal, this beginning again, and a kind of satisfaction from doing exactly what we should be doing at this moment. Coming back to the breath, just breathing, just being aware, fully showing up to our life and fully taking care of our life. And touching reality and taking on this position of this is reality, and I am facing that, and I am being with that. And it's enjoyable to go more and more into that at this present moment. Breathing as deeply as needed. We can know as we practice that the meditation is not only for ourselves, but that there is an offering that goes along with it. That as our awareness and enjoyment of the body and the present become more full inside the body, that we also share that out. We expand out. We're not locked into the body, but that awareness, that enjoyment, that presence, breathing into the body and also sharing out, offering out. Not to constrain that joy, that peace to the body. Not to make it a selfish practice, but a practice of sharing, offering out. Just breathing in, breathing out. no judgment, no fixing, no solving, just putting everything to rest. Just breathing and being aware. Okay, so welcome to open your eyes if they're closed. You can Stretch your body a little bit, massage your face if you like. You can also stay with your meditation, and we'll start to look at some Zen teachings. So for people who don't know much about Zen or haven't heard about Zen before, um, Zen is a form of Buddhism, okay, that basically this great monk came from India to China, and the story is that this monk went to a cave um, in a certain area of China and sat and stared at the wall for 9 years, something like that. And after a certain point, there was another monk who heard about this monk and came to him to learn from him. And this monk came to the cave and said, I want to study with you, I want to follow you. And this monk called Bodhidharma, the founder of Zen, he said, he just ignored him. He didn't respond to him at all. And so this other monk who wanted to be a student, he standing out in the cold for many months and trying to wait for Bodhidharma to accept him. And still he wouldn't. The teacher wouldn't accept this monk as his student. So then the monk went to Bodhidharma, cut off his arm, and gave it to the teacher. And at that time, Bodhidharma said, okay, it's going to be tough to get rid of this person. They're sincere in their wish to know about the truth. So Bodhidharma accept that person as a student, someone who's worthy to be trained and to give attention to. Okay. And then at one point, that monk is following the teacher and is, says to him, Master, okay, I want to pacify my mind. Okay, I want to solve the suffering, the anxiety, the tension, the fear, okay, the friction in my mind. Please help me to solve it, to pacify it, okay? And so then Bodhidharma said, okay, show me your mind. Show me your mind and I will pacify it for you. And then the student said, when I look for it, I can't find it. And Bodhidharma said, okay, I have pacified your mind. Okay? So this is one of the initial stories of Zen. And then even you go back further than that to the time of the Buddha. It's said that at one point the Buddha was sitting with, and we say his monks, but who knows? Maybe the Buddha was a woman, maybe these monks are women or non-binary or trans, who knows what they are, okay? So the Buddha was sitting with his disciples and at a certain point held up a flower, okay? And the Buddha just held up this flower and kind of looked around, and no one really knew what to do or knew what was going on. But there was one monk called Mahakashyapa who saw the Buddha holding the flower and smiled. Okay, and so it's said that at that time there was this mind-to-mind transmission. Okay, Mahakashyapa understood what the Buddha was, the Buddha's enlightenment, what the Buddha was teaching. Okay, and so the premise of Zen is that it's not built on words or phrases, it's not built on doctrines or beliefs, but that it's a direct mind-to-mind transmission of seeing into the truth. Okay, and from the Buddha to Mahakashyapa and down the line to many, many people, eventually to this guy Bodhidharma, who's known as the founder of Zen, who went from India to China. This is what we know as Zen, is this lineage, this tradition of a mind-to-mind transmission that exists outside of words and phrases and does not rely on a written doctrine. Okay, and there's many different ways that that's expressed, and we're going to look into that today, some of these teachings. So from China, India to China, Bodhidharma, the starter of Zen in China, it was passed down. This mind-to-mind transmission is passed down to monk to monk to monk to monk. These, we say, patriarchs or masters of mind, great teachers of mind, people who saw into the truth. And so eventually this Zen or Chan or Dhyana, different names but the same meaning, went from China to Japan to Korea and to Vietnam. Okay, and these are the modern expressions of Zen. And now it's one of the more successful traditions that has come about and has taken root in Western society. So Western people seem to really like Zen style. All right, so let's get to some of these teachings and then Zen stories. Okay. So this is entitled Dreaming and Waking by Pu'an. Delusion is dreaming. Enlightenment is awakening. When you are deluded, you don't know it's a dream. When you wake up from the dream, then you realize it was a dream. An ancient worthy, which means an ancient worthy is someone from the past, someone from this history of practitioners and monks, nuns, whatever it might be, who developed a degree of understanding. Okay? An ancient worthy said, "When you are in a dream, how can you know the dream is unreal? When you wake up, then you become conscious that what was in the dream doesn't exist. When you're deluded, it's like something in a dream. When you're enlightened, it is the same as waking up." Delusion and enlightenment are originally non-existent. It is just that the Buddhas spoke of them for remedial purposes after they had realized enlightenment. Okay, so this concept of a Buddha means a fully awakened being, a fully enlightened being. It's Neo, okay, from the Matrix. It's someone who's fully woken up. It's a lot more deeper and compassionate and sweet and poetic than that as well. Neo's a little bit shallow compared to what it means, a Buddha, this absolute compassion and awakening, right? And light and goodness. Goodness that transcends right and wrong, good or bad. Remedial purposes, what's this remedial mean? Giving or intended as a remedy or a cure. Okay? So delusion and enlightenment are originally non-existent, not actually real, okay, not actually existing. It is just that the Buddhas, these awakened beings, spoke of them for remedial purposes after they had realized enlightenment. Okay, so these terms, these ways of speaking of delusion and enlightenment don't really have a self-existence. It's only that after these humans, these beings had attained awakening, had attained enlightenment, they spoke of these terms, they spoke in these ways for the purposes of healing, the purposes of helping, okay, sentient beings like us, unawakened beings. That is why there are sayings and writings, expedient means for helping people, explaining delusion from the point of view of enlightenment, in accord with the mutual quelling of medicine and disease. Okay, so so this is why there are these Buddhist sayings and writings and teachings. Expedient means, meaning what works for you in your situation. Okay, not an absolute doctrine of right and wrong or a perfect formula or system for how to become enlightened or how to wake up, but the expedient means, the skillful ways and means for you in your situation, for people in their situation. So that is why there are these sayings and writings, expedient means for helping people, explaining delusion from the point of view of enlightenment, in accord with the mutual quelling of medicine and disease. Okay, so quelling and healing and relaxing and releasing the disease. Okay, we're all very diseased people. We're almost like lepers a lot of the time, right? People with just fully diseased, our mind, so much attachment, so much desire, so much aversion that just seems to be constantly arising. So these teachings, speaking in these ways, explaining delusion from the point of view of enlightenment in accord with the mutual quelling not only of disease but also the medicine. Okay, so we don't get attached to a certain fragrance. We don't get attached to a certain environment or a certain teacher, a certain medicine. We quell, we release, we relax the medicine and the disease. Okay. Once people are enlightened, there is fundamentally no delusion. What is the use of talking about medicine? Okay. Any questions, comments about this?
It reminds me a little bit of the analogy of the raft, and how once you reach the other shore, the raft is not really of any use anymore.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Question, comment? Okay, so I'm going to read one more of these Zen teachings. This is like it's a compilation of different teachers from the, kind of ancient worthies and these Zen masters from the past. And there's a compilation of teachings that I often look at. So we'll go through one more of these, and then we'll go into some Zen stories, which have a different quality to them. Okay. So this is entitled Cover the Universe. Okay. Zen is not thought. The path has no achievement. Yet, if not thought, it is not Zen. And without achievement, it is not the path. At this point, where do you arrive? When you have cut through your conceptual faculty, how do you discriminate? When you do not fall into consciousness, when you do not fall into a state of being aware, how do you approach? As soon as you get into the clusters and elements, you are already a lifetime away. What you must do is cover the whole universe with no opinion about Buddha or doctrine, bringing it up in the midst of sharp edges, putting it to use in heated situations. Just trust in it thus, and naturally every step will tread on the real ground. You can hold still and be the master, go along with things or spurn things, setting out and setting aside according to the time. When you turn upward, Buddhas and devils disappear without a trace. Mountains and seas vanish. When you turn downward, monks are monks, lay people are lay people. You transcend seeing and hearing, get rid of all dependence, and ride at leisure on top of sound and form, mastering that which startles the crowd. Okay, what I want to draw particular attention to here is when you have cut through your conceptual faculty, how do you discriminate? When you are no longer relying on a conceptual faculty, a cognitive faculty, okay, a way of perceiving, a way of interacting, when you have cut through a way of perceiving or interacting that relies any way on concepts or beliefs, cognition, how do you discern? Okay, how do you make the right choice? How do you make the right step? When you do not fall into any state, okay, not someone, not something, when you do not fall into being aware, when you don't get stuck even on being aware, how do you approach? What do you do? And the first sentence here is direct as well. Zen is not thought. The path has no achievement. Yet if not thought, it is not Zen, and without achievement, it is not the path. At this point, where do you arrive? Anyone have an answer to that?
Can you repeat it again?
Yes, okay. So Alex, I'm gonna rely on you to give an answer to this, okay? And don't be yeah, okay. Let's see. Don't be shy. Zen is not thought. The path has no achievement. Yet, if not thought, it is not Zen. And without achievement, it is not the path. At this point, where do you arrive? Arriving at not arriving and arriving at not knowing is also suitable, okay? A good student is able to know about not knowing, okay? A good student is able to use the power of not knowing and to enjoy that, right? It's quite enjoyable to not know. Sometimes the most miserable is to be in this constant state of knowing, believing, okay? It's like this, it's like that, enough, okay? What about not knowing? It's much more comfortable a lot of the times. But this isn't a kind of ignorance of not knowing. It's a sincerity, okay? To be with what's happening right now. So let's go into some of these Zen stories that I mentioned. Unless you have a turning phrase, Alex. Okay, all right. So, in this tradition of Zen, okay, that started with the Buddha and then eventually led to China. There's a lot of many iconoclasts, okay, many kind of eccentric characters and many unique ways of teaching and expressing. And this is one of the really unique qualities that that Zen brings. And so you see that with the story of there's this original monk who came from India to China, and he went and sat and stared at a wall for 9 years. Okay, it doesn't get more iconoclast than that. It doesn't get more eccentric than that, right? So, and then the next disciple is someone who cut off their arm, and gave it to the teacher so that they would be to be trained. And there's a lot of stories like this, of this eccentric quality that goes along with a Zen monk or a Zen teacher. And these Zen stories are going to kind of embody that. And in particular, this is coming from a text called the Zen Teachings of Master Lin Chi. So Lin Chi is one of the most well-known Zen masters throughout history. And we can say that he is known for spontaneity and also this challenge of any kind of conceptuality through the use of a shouting and even a beating. Okay? So let's see some of these Zen stories and see what comes up, okay? And if you listen to it think of it in an anime way, then that's going to give you some kind of structure in which to listen to this kind of story, because in our society, what is a monk, right? What is a Buddhist monk or a monastery or a temple? It's not really something that we have a cultural background for. So you can see it in this kind of, it's like anime, but a real anime. A real story. Okay. And so there's also this strong dynamic of a master of the temple, Lin Chi, the head monk of the temple, the king, the patriarch of the temple, and then any other monk who happens to come along. Okay? So here we go. The master ascended the hall. So this means the master came up to sit on the throne in the meditation hall. The master ascended the hall. A monk asked, "What is the basic meaning of Buddhism?" The master held his fly whisk straight up. Okay, so the master held up one of his kind of a monk tool. I'm not sure what exactly they use it for, but it held something straight up, almost like a staff. Held up a staff straight up. Then the monk gave a shout, and the master struck him. Hit him with a stick or a staff or something. Another monk asked, "What is the basic meaning of Buddhism?" Again the master held his fly whisk straight up. The monk gave a shout. The master also gave a shout. The monk was about to say something, whereupon the master hit him. The master said, "All of you, it is for the sake of the dharma," okay, it is for the sake of the truth, "don't hesitate to sacrifice," all of you, "if it is for the sake of the dharma, do not hesitate to sacrifice your bodies or give up your lives." 20 years ago, when I was at Huang Po, another Zen master, when I was at Huang Po's place, I asked 3 times what was clearly and obviously the real point of Buddhism, and 3 times he was good enough to hit me with his stick. It was as though he had brushed me with a sprig of mugwort. Thinking of it now, I wish I could get hit once more like that. Is there anyone who can give me such a blow? Mugwort is like a fragrant, kind of pleasant plant. Okay, so go back a little bit. The master said, "All of you, if it is for the sake of the dharma, do not hesitate to sacrifice your bodies or give up your lives." 20 years ago, when I was at Huangpo's place, I asked him 3 times what was clearly and obviously the real point of Buddhism. And 3 times he was good enough to hit me with his stick. It was as though he had brushed me with a sprig of fragrant flowers. Thinking of it now, I wish I could get hit once more like that. Is there anyone who can give me such a blow? At that time, a monk stepped forward from the group and said, "I will give you one." The master picked up his stick and handed it to the monk. The monk was about to take it, whereupon the master struck him. Okay, so let's go to another story here. The master ascended the hall. A monk asked, what is meant by this matter of the sword blade?" The master said, "Fearful, fearful." The monk was about to speak, whereupon the master struck him. Someone asked, "How about the lay disciple, Shi, who worked the pestle but forgot he was moving his feet? Where has he gotten to?" The master said, "Drowned in a deep spring." The master then said, "Whoever comes here, I never let them slip by me, but in all cases understand where they come from. If you come in a certain way, you'll just be losing track of yourself. And if you don't come in that way, you'll be tying yourself up without using a rope. Whatever hour of the day or night, do not go around recklessly passing judgments. Whether you know what you're doing or not, you will be wrong in every case. This much I state clearly. The world is perfectly free to criticize or condemn me all it likes. Thank you for standing so long." Sometimes we need to learn how to be comfortable to abide in obscurity. Okay, So this is a teaching from the Master. The Master instructed the group, saying, "Followers of the way, what is important is to approach things with a true and proper understanding. Walk wherever you please in the world, but don't let yourselves be muddled or misled by that bunch of goblin spirits. The person of value is the one who has nothing to do. Don't try to do something special. Just act ordinary. You look outside yourselves, going off on side roads, hunting for something, trying to get your hands on something. That is a mistake. You keep trying to look for the Buddha, but Buddha is just a name, a word. We can say, you keep trying to look for peace, but peace is just a name, a word. Do you know what it is that everyone is rushing around looking for? All the Buddhas and great masters of the three existences of past, present, and future, and all in the 10 directions, make their appearance in this world just so they can seek the truth. And you followers of the way who have come to study, you are here now just so you can seek the truth. Once you get the truth, that will settle things. But until you do, you will go on as before, being reborn again and again in the different realms of existence. What is this thing called truth? What is this thing called dharma? Okay, Dhamma, dharma. We're always using this word in Buddhism. Dharma is the dharma, or truth of the mind. The dharma of the mind has no fixed form. It penetrates all the 10 directions. It is in operation right before our eyes. But because people don't have enough faith, trust, they cling to words, cling to phrases. They try to find the truth of the Buddhas by looking in written words. We can say they tried to find the truth of the way to peace, or the embodiment of peace, by looking in written words or thought structures. But they are as far away from it as heaven is from earth. Followers of the way, when I preach the truth, what truth do I preach? I preach the dharma of the mind, so it can enter into the common mortal or the sage, the pure or the filthy, the sacred or the secular. But you who are sacred or secular, common mortals or sages, can't start fixing names or labels to all the others who are sacred or secular, common mortals or sages. And those sacred or secular, common mortals or sages can't fix a name or label to a person like this. Followers of the way, get a hold of this thing and use it, but don't fix a label to it. This is what I call the dark meaning. My preaching of the Dharma is different from that of other people in the world. Even if Manjushri and Samantabhadra were to appear here before my eyes, each manifesting their bodily form and asking about the Dharma, they would no sooner have said, "We wish to question the Master," than I'd have seen right through them. Okay, so this here is saying, even if the greatest anime character, even if Cinderella, even if Donald Trump, even if Obama, even if Jesus or Krishna or whoever it is, that some superhero, even if Superman, but like real Superman, were to appear here before my eyes, the best of the best, the strongest, whatever. Each manifesting their bodily form, light, unbelievable, incredible, so many arms, so many eyes, manifesting in front of me and asking about the truth. They would no sooner have said, "We wish to question the master," than I'd have seen right through them, to seen right into their nature. Now, this isn't me. This is Linji. I sit calmly in my seat, and when followers of the way come for an interview, I see through them all. How do I do this? Because my way of looking at them is different. I don't worry whether on the outside they are common mortals or sages, or get bogged down in the kind of basic nature they have inside. I just see all the way through them and never make an error. So, what do we think about this?
Um, it seems like to me that whenever we look for answers, it ends up getting a lot farther away. And it really is as simple as just getting better at meditation and resisting the urge to try to find the answer, that there is no answer. Um, so I guess when we get to that point, is there really any real question to ask that wouldn't be a mistake to ask in the first place?
If you practice diligently enough, then you can ask a good question. There will be something that will come up. But if you don't, then for sure what you said will be completely true. But if you really practice intensively, then you can ask a reliable question, a worthwhile question. So that's not always true what you said, but a lot of the times that's been my experience. Okay, that there's not necessarily a major question to ask, but more there's an action to take of following through with my practice more and more and showing up more and more in the right way from a right understanding.
That was a good answer. Thank you.
Okay, who else? Question or some thoughts about what we read, what we listened to?
To me, it seemed a lot like the story was rejecting the idea of finding truth simply from written text or like an oral teaching. Like you have to find it for yourself rather than just rely on somebody to tell you or a book to tell you. That's kind of what I got from it.
And yet you got it from exactly that. So be careful. One of the things that struck me was the last part here about Linji is talking about the experience that he has, okay, in terms of his degree of mind, his state of mind, and especially talking about seeing through people. Okay, so not being bogged down, not being stuck by anyone, even these great bodhisattvas, these great manifestations of wisdom. The literal physical embodiment of um, archetype, complete, total archetype of compassion or wisdom or understanding. And so he's saying, I see through them. I see through them. I see their nature. And this is I guess there's something about when we can't see through something, our vision is obscured. Okay, our vision is blocked, so we can't see the full picture. Seeing through something, you also have to see it. You see it so clearly that you see through it, right? So this last part where Linji says, "I sit calmly in my seat, and when followers of the way come for an interview, I see through them all." And this is referencing like at a meditation retreat or as a Buddhist person, a lay person, you'll try to have an interview or tea or something with the teacher, okay, with the monk or something like that. Come for a practice interview so they can check in about your mind. And a lot of times that's what the function that monks perform or that teachers perform is to, you come up to the teacher with something in your mouth that shouldn't be there. Okay. And even worse, you've been swallowing things, eating things that you shouldn't be eating. And now you've got another piece that you're ready to put in your mouth. The teacher takes that out of your hand and says, restart, refresh, relax, put that down, try this, maybe try this, right? Try a different thing. So Linji says, I sit calmly in my seat, and when followers of the way come for an interview, I see through them all. How do I do this? How do I see so clearly? Because my way of looking at them is different. I don't worry whether on the outside they are common mortals or sages. Okay, so Linji says, I don't get involved whether they're very skillful or they're just a regular person. Like they have some training or they have no training. I don't worry about that. Or get bogged down in the kind of basic nature they have inside. So I understand this as being getting bogged down in like the true nature of our mind that we've been talking about recently, like the nature of the mind that can't be defiled or obscured or that your mind, these effects or these states can come into the mind, but the nature of the mind itself is just like pure, clear light, awareness itself. So Linji says, I don't worry whether on the outside they are trained or untrained, skillful or unskillful, or get bogged down in the kind of basic nature they have inside. So I also not getting stuck in, being aware that at their core, their mind is pure. Rather, I just see all the way through them and never make an error. So how can Linji see all the way through them and never make an error? Because seeing with detachment, seeing with not someone, not something. Okay, there's nothing to get bogged down by. There's nothing to get stuck on. Just seeing through completely. And that is to be fully present without subject or object, without judgment or non-judgment, without enlightenment or no enlightenment, but just the seeing in the seeing itself. And that the mind is so oriented to that Linji sees through everyone and couldn't make an error, not possible to make an error, because he's seeing through, not bogged down on any one aspect of them. And also to that effect, Linji says about Linji was saying, it's anyone, anywhere can come and say what they like about me, and I'm unbothered. I'm uninvolved. There's nothing that can burden me. There's nothing that can obscure this clear seeing, this seeing through any person, any place, any attachment, any desire, any fear. Everything is seen through completely. And so, in a small way, we also practice like this for our meditation. With each and every breath, with each and every moment of awareness, we are seeing through. We're not getting bogged down on pleasant or unpleasant, like or dislike, but we're fully ready and willing to give up whatever like or dislike or perception that we have and just seeing through, just breathing, just sitting, just being aware. Okay, I think that's where we will end today, unless there's any other question or comment. All right, we'll finish with 3 sadhus. So sadhu, this Buddhist word, Pali word, meaning well done, good job. And it's a certain kind of yoga, it's a certain kind of practice that we can all chant together and express together vocally our recognition of well done, good job, wonderful. And we can all kind of pat ourselves in the back, on the back in that way and harmonize, even though we can't all hear each other. Okay, so welcome to chant along with me 3 sadhus. Means great, excellent, well done. Sadhu. 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 Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you for your dedication, your willingness to show up and practice. And see you again soon.